Becca Bolin,
Here.
Sandra Flowers,
Present.
Joeva Gaines,
Present.
Robert Leary,
Here.
Thomas Phelan,
Here.
Robert Power,
Here.
Charles Shoemaker, MD,
Here.
all present. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
While we're sitting here, I'd like to go right to approval of the TAN contract. And I'll ask Jack his comment and maybe introduce Mrs. Carroll.
Thank you, Charlie. Obviously, this contract was negotiated over a long period of time. I'd like to thank Dr. Shoemaker, Mr. Phelan, Fran Eames, and certainly our chief negotiator, Mary Ann Carroll, for coming up with what I think is a very fair collective bargaining agreement with the Teachers Association. Obviously, the committee didn't achieve everything it wanted, but that's not collective bargaining. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way. What I do think we achieved is substantial, and there's a fiscal impact statement which is available and will become part of the public record upon this vote. But the major savings resulted from an increase in the cost share from 15% to 20%, and a change in the plan design. And those are the primary savings. This year, there's a 1% increase. Next year, there's a 2% increase in the salaries. There was a substantial reduction in the buyback from $5,800 and $4,100 for individual to next year $2,500 and $1,250 for individual. Again, a substantial change. Additionally, but we can't really factor it in now in terms of what the actual savings is from year to year. There were substantial savings in increasing the class size. The class size in kindergarten went eventually from 19 to 23. First and second grade will go from 20 to 24. Third, fourth, and fifth grade will be from 22 to 24. So that's a realized savings, because every teacher that we hire at step 3 and benefits is $70,000. So there are additional substantial savings with regard to that. But the thing that I'm pleased about, a lot of it, but one of the things that I'm very pleased about is we added 15 additional minutes to the school day for teaching and learning, and I think that was great, and I thank the Teachers Association for being willing to step up and agree to that. This was something that was mediated. There was the school committee agreed to go to binding arbitration on this, and this is a ratification of the agreement as rendered by the arbitrator, Vin Regasta. And Mary Ann Carroll is here, who is was our chief negotiator. And I say again, thank you, Mary Ann, for all the good work that you've done on behalf of the school department.
Why don't you go to the podium?
First of all, I want to thank the committee. As I said before the meeting started, it was a pleasure to work with you, both with the negotiating team and then with the full committee. I think the best thing that we did in Newport at the end was to have the committee agree to binding arbitration. I would never recommend it for all cases and for all committees, but when we knew who the arbitrator was, we knew we were going to get a fair shot, And basically, by going to binding arbitration, we got a contract. Had we not done that and just gone to binding arbitration on some of the money issues, we could still be negotiating some of the other issues as we speak. So in having this committee agree to binding arbitration, which you did, and by going to binding arbitration, we basically received our last proposal in effect. We got the last proposal as the contract. So the contract that I believe Wendy sent to you today is the contract that contains every issue from binding arbitration, plus the issues that we had agreed to as tentative agreements that were part of the binding arbitration. I sent Dr. Shoemaker a letter saying that I have gone through this contract, and I certainly recommend that it be adopted and that he sign it. And I actually have 2 copies that I'm going to ask him to sign. There's one difference on the signing page from the contract you have in front of you, and if you look at page 39, the only difference is the chairwoman of the negotiating team wants to sign it, and the president of the union wants to sign it, so there is an extra line on the one that's being signed from the one that you have in front of you. So, Dr. Shoemaker, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you to sign this contract.
I have to accept it first.
Oh, you haven't done it, okay. Please accept it and sign it.
I move acceptance of the contract as presented.
Second it.
Mr. Chairman,
Open for discussion, yes, Mr. Leary?
first, could you start with, Dr. Brogy did a good job of highlighting. I always ask the contracts be read out publicly so the public knows what was in it and it's been going on. Could you highlight why there was a 7-month, 6-month delay on this?
Between the
Arbitrating
arbitrating award
Yeah,
and today?
And today, right.
Well, first of all, let me say that you're putting me on the spot, you understand that.
Of course I am. It's my job.
There was a delay because the actual contract got delayed with TAN, with some of the people in TAN. Jane Argentieri and I had gone back and forth on this, and
Explain who she is.
Jane Argentieri is the chief negotiator for TAN. She is the NEA representative. Ms. Argentieri and I had met. We had a draft, and that draft went to TAN, and unfortunately, it got delayed in TAN. You actually have some information from the arbitrator who stated that if we didn't get this back from them soon, then we possibly should file an unfair labor practice. That didn't need to happen. We finally got it back from TAN. They sent it to me about a week ago. I went through it again. There were changes, some things that I needed to have changed. I sent it back from TAN, and I think we actually got it about a week ago. And then actually, up until an hour before I came here, we made a couple of more changes. So I don't want to blame the negotiating committee or the chief negotiator. Somehow it got stalled with TAN, and I never received it back to present it to you.
So, to follow up with that, there's been no changes in the contract from the arbitrator's board?
The contract that you have in front of you incorporates the arbitrator's award. What I did is I took the arbitrator's award and the tentative agreement. We had a page of tentative agreements that we had done before the arbitrator that was incorporated into his award, and I went through the contract and I made sure that every single change, both in the arbitrator's agreement and in these tentative agreements, was incorporated in the contract that you have in front of you tonight. So are there any changes from what we agreed to? Absolutely not. What we agreed to now is part of this contract.
And Mr. Chairman, I'm going to not recuse myself, I'm going to abstain from voting on this, and I always want to say, this is my 3rd time I've said this, but you might as well know it again, so the public knows. My wife has been a teacher for 25 years, wherever here in Newport, and I have a ruling in 2005 from the Ethics Commission, it's ruling number 2005, number 25, and I'll never forget this day, and I'll get my 2 minutes of fame when I'm up here, my time right here. I'll never forget this day because they said, the ruling says the first person that comes in is the first one they do. I was the first one in, and the second one was Governor Kacheri. And they come over to me, and the Ethics Commission said, listen, Mr. Leary, you're the first one, the governor's here first, and he was doing his Patriots football tickets. They said, we'd like to let him go first if that's possible. And I said, no problem, figuring they'd give me a little break when I get in there, got done his hour time, I went in there, and they didn't give me a break. And I said to them, maybe I talked down to them, and I gotta get better at that. They said I'm allowed to vote on the contract as a whole. Right now, I could vote on the contract, but I'm not allowed to vote on parts of the contract going through. So I said, let me see if I get this straight. So there's a tentative agreement that goes out at some point in the agreement. That means both sides agree to it, and now, when it's all done, I get to vote on it, which makes no sense. It's the opposite way New Jersey does it, as Dr. Brogy said many times. It's the opposite way Massachusetts does it. It makes no sense to me to do it, so why do I vote? My vote makes no sense, it had nothing, so I'll just abstain from voting, and I just want to explain why I'm abstaining to the public, not cowarding out.
Any other comments? Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I'm going to be voting against this contract because I think the major thing that we ignored was the extended benefits. It somehow slipped through the cracks between the arbitrator and during that process, and it's such a major deal that we should have had something from there, and since we didn't, I even though the contract in general I do support, this one piece missing, that we should have done something, whatever it is, because it's such a expense in the future that I don't think it's sustainable.
Seeing no others.
If nobody else, I'll wait till everybody else is ready to speak. I have one more thing I want to say.
Yeah.
If everybody's done, is everybody else done? I would like to put on the agenda for maybe February or March meeting that we consider hiring the same law firm that did this negotiating contract for us. I know we have no contracts this year, but we could get the page up and they can start doing some other work maybe. So if we put it on the agenda to discuss possibly adopt hiring the firm, I think they did an excellent job, and I just want to thank them for that.
Thank you.
I guess it's not seeing any other hands. I'll ask for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No hands?
Abstain.
Yeah, I guess we got a vote. Got that, Wendy?
Sandra, are you
Yeah.
against, or?
Aye.
Oh, okay.
For it.
All right, got
I'm
it.
against.
Yeah,
Opposed?
abstaining.
Opposed?
Opposed?
5-1 abstain.
Abstain.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Now can we have you sign it, Dr.?
You won't be able to read it. It's like the new treasurer of the United States.
Now,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
You might want to note for the viewing public that this document will be accessible online as soon as we can get it to Osiris.
Right.
okay. Now, the next one is the administrative contract, and there's some changes that perhaps should be done because in the executive session, because they are identifying individuals, which I guess we're supposed to go in this executive session if there's those kind of issues. So I'll entertain a motion to go into,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
I move that we go into executive session under jurisdiction of Rhode Island State Law, Chapter 46, 42, 46, 5, exceptions, personnel matters, and 46, 42, 46, 5A2, collective bargaining and litigation.
Is there a motion to support that?
Second.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
If I may, can we put a time limit on this? We have Preston here, we have a viewing public waiting, it's 5:15. I don't want to come back in here at 6:15, so we can put a time limit on this?
I agree with you. Let's say 30 minutes, the most? Is that agreeable?
So at 5:45, we'll be back.
So you got a motion, and you got a second?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
So let's
Okay, we're
take
moving
another-
on to item number 3.1.
Call the meeting back.
It's divided into two sections, the resignation and
We
renewals.
have to call the meeting to order.
We have to come back to order.
They sure.
Motion to go back in.
I move we go back into open session.
Second.
I guess we need another roll call.
Yep. Wendy?
Rebecca Bolin,
Here.
Sandra Flowers,
Present.
Joeva Gaines,
Present.
Robert Leary,
Yeah,
Thomas Phelan,
Here.
Robert Power,
Here.
Charles Shoemaker.
Here.
All present.
Try it again. Item 3.1, it's divided into two parts, resignation and then renewals. Let's take up the resignation first. Carolyn Fry, anybody want to make a motion to accept the resignation?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a question.
Mrs. Gaines?
About a month ago, we voted to give Carolyn a $10,000 raise. Did she accept that raise as she was walking out the door, or what?
The school committee voted for the raise effective this school year, retroactive. She was entitled to that raise. Mr. Kelly signed the contract while he was still a chairman, and then Dr. Fry signed the contract, so she, yes, she did accept.
When did she sign the contract?
A week ago Monday, I believe.
And when did she resign?
February 1.
This isn't dated. So I found out the next day from her verbally that she accepted another position.
The next day after she signed the contract?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if that's the case, I think we should, I know math sometimes is difficult, people, but there's only half a year, so most should get be $5,000, am I
Correct.
correct?
Correct.
Okay, so let's be clear of that, so people know it's not 10,000, it's 5. And also, let's be clear that I supported that motion because this woman was working her job plus doing a half-time principal to a school. It's the lowest performing in the state. She was doing that for no pay. So I think, to me, that $5,000 for a half year of doing that work is worth it, because you're paying a principal over $50,000 there for the other half.
Any other discussion? Yes, Mrs.
As long as we brought up her name, I just want to thank her for her, and say that we were very lucky to have her, and Lincoln is a very lucky district to get her. And in the meantime, she was also sought out and was offered an assistant principal job in another school district. So it's going to be a huge loss to our district. And a hard, it's going to be difficult to fill that in the time left this year.
Seeing no other hands, I'd ask for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 7 to 0. On the renewals, because these contracts varied and the votes on approval at the committee varied, we're going to take them up one by one. I'm sorry for the delay, but Kim Bean, need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Chairman.
Yes.
If you're going to do that, then I would suspect if Dr. Ambrogi will be reading out every one of, you want to do some generic thing of what each person makes. I think every contract should be, as much as they're online after tomorrow, whatever, the viewing public should see how much money, what are the highlights of a contract. So if he wants to do that, and I did ask him beforehand, so he knows I was asking this, to be prepared for it.
I don't understand.
Well, I think it's important that the public, the viewing public out there.
I understand that. What is it? You want him to read the entire contract?
No, it'd be like the benefits of the contract, the salary.
I think you can do that generically for all of the administrators, because they're all the same, aren't they?
Well, no.
All of the contracts but one are the same in terms of the substance of the contracts. All of the contracts now are the same, with the exception of one. The salaries are different, but the contracts themselves are the same. All of them except for Paul Fagan.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr. Taylor.
Before Dr. Ambrogi mentions what's in the contracts, can I say how we're going to vote and why, just because it's all related to what he's going to be talking about?
Sure, I mean, you're entitled to go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to be voting against this contract, and the main reason is, for one, I felt the whole time that we were negotiating against ourselves. We had, at the beginning, as a school committee, set parameters of what we were doing, and then when we got into the meetings, the other members on the negotiating committee started mentioning things that we had not discussed previously. Things could be good, things could be bad, but the point is, we should have, as a school committee, discussed it before we mentioned it to the people we're negotiating with. Because once you mention something to somebody, you can't take what you just said back. And I just felt bad in the sense that we as a school committee should have had a direction, or we should have followed the direction we had, and then gone back and got more information to vote how we should go. The things that we're giving right now is we're going to give one person extended benefits, and over a 20-year period, for two people, will be $346,000. Okay, that's why the extended benefits is going to kill this district. We've, Council 94, we did what we could, and they did wonderful, but we didn't accomplish anything with TAN. I had a problem with it, because the savings we made here are going to be small compared to what the cost is going to kill us later on. And people have to realize that if we don't do something now, eventually, the city's going to have to bankrupt the school system, in which case they won't get that benefit, because it's just, the number is so big. And, you'd hope that you work with other people to get that solved. So for one, that one person's going to cost, with two people, $346,000 over the 20 years. Plus, we're going to give a new benefit, which we had taken out in 2005, concerning someone retiring, getting, administrators, getting paid Blue Cross plus their copay up to 65. So we're going to give it back to 11 administrators that are already in the system. So in a sense, once they retire, per year, it's going to cost us $198,000. And we can't sustain it. We're giving away this money, and I wish we could do it, but we can't do it. We're trying to make do what we have, and eventually, we're going to be cutting back to the kids, because that's our biggest cost, is labor, and we have to realize what we're doing before we vote on it.
Just let it go.
This whole process, I thought was wrong. I'm sorry. We did not do this. The TAN, the school committee members kept quiet and to discuss with the other members eventually, so we didn't put our foot in our mouth. And nothing against the people we negotiated with. That's not the issue at all. I don't know how I would vote on each individual things if we had done it differently, but at this point in time, I think if you look at the cost and how the process was done, it's crazy. And right now, just extended benefits, another thing, we have retired people that will be eventually eligible for it, it's 236, and the current employees that will be eligible are 144. And if you double that, because of spouses, because most people, the numbers are just phenomenal. So that's all I get to say.
Any other comments about this particular item?
Go ahead. Excuse me.
Go ahead.
My question is then, I will be asking Dr. Ambrosi if he will tell me which ones are getting the 4,000 or 2,000.
Okay, that's more helpful.
Okay, I will vote that way then.
Thank
If you're
you.
doing it individually.
Thank you,
I didn't
Mr. Larry.
I didn't expect you to do it individually. I thought we were doing them as a
Yeah,
group.
thank you.
Yep.
Okay,
Excuse me.
and that.
Mrs. Gaines?
I just want to say that in supporting these agreements, it occurs to me that when you have an employee who has been with you for more than 30 years, and you have not yet been able to retract extended benefits from the other two unions, just putting it on the backs of the administrators seems a bit unfair. We have been able to eliminate extended benefits for all other administrators in this agreement. We have eliminated extended benefits for new hires across the board. So I think we are making progress here. I have no problem with extending that benefit to someone who's been here for as long as one of our employees who will be named later. In the light that there are others in other unions with that kind of tenure who are getting this benefit. So in that light, I'm supporting it.
I'm just going to comment. These contracts are not in isolation. We have a school district which has TAN, in which we're providing extended benefit. We're extending a bridge policy. And everybody is working together. Now, it seems like the highest ranking people in the system are the administrators. They're the ones who control a lot of the people. And I find it very hard to understand why we should pay for a benefit for some of the people who may have one of the lowlier jobs, and then take it away from the administrator. So I think there's an equity issue here that we have to consider, and that is the people who are in the administrative level perhaps should have the same benefits as the people working with them. Yeah, Mr. Phelan?
The problem I have with this is when the extended benefits came out in 1998, if you go look, administrators all received the extended benefits. Now, I'm sorry, looking back, you're negotiating for something new, and you're yourself receiving that benefit. I have a problem with that. This is where it came, and I would like that maybe separate the benefits through a different organization, so we're not involved, so we're not competing, supposedly TAN and Council 94 against administrators. That doesn't make sense. And also, I don't want the administrators benefiting what we give to TAN or Council 94, because it's not fair one way or the other, because whose interests are they in negotiating?
Mr. Chairman?
I'm going to ask that each person have one comment and then move on. We have 20 other names to go. So
I don't know.
if you've made a previous comment, I'd like, yes, Mrs.
Actually, for
Two things. A
okay,
point of order
point of order is right.
is that Robert's Rules of Order allow you to speak twice on a
That's correct.
subject. So, for a certain amount of time. But I want to first comment, I want to say that, I mean, Charlie Shoemaker's comments just now about the lowliest members was not, I don't think he chose his words well, and that there's no one up here that believes you are the heartbeat, our Council 94 of what goes on in this district, and without all of you, every single day, doing what you do for kids and for all of us, we could never do our job here, and we absolutely appreciate everything you do and value you. And so I think he just chose a bad choice of words, so I just wanted to make...
Thank you for getting me out of trouble.
But my comment then was that I tonight will not be voting for the one extended benefit contract, because 2 years ago, about 18 months ago, we took the extended benefits out of the administrators' contracts. And so now to put one back in to the cost of the district of like $186,000 is a huge amount of money and it's actually more than that. It's because you have to add what his spouse would then gain from it. I think
$449,000.
$449,000. There's no way that I can let that happen. I find that because his spouse is a retired member, he will be entitled to have extended benefits through her. And so for us to do this, I think is, it's putting the district in our city to a liability that I don't think we should do.
I'd like to, though, just limit the discussion to the individual. We have one person, Mrs. Bean's name is up here, and let's limit the discussion to her case.
Are we going to do groups?
Yeah, why don't we do groups?
I'm not even sure in terms of what, but there are right now there are 4 different groups that we're talking about. One group are individuals that never had lifetime health benefits, okay? Those folks are not having any changes here other than to receive benefits until they're eligible for Social Security. That's the one group. There's another group that it consists of 5 individuals. Those individuals had previously had lifetime health benefits. They will no longer have lifetime health benefits, and in consideration of that reduction, they're being given an extra $2,000 in their pay. There are 2 other people who are longtime employees. One has 20 years and the other has 22 years. And in consideration of their long service, they're not taking the lifetime health benefits. They will be getting an additional $4,000 in their pay. The person that we've been talking about now is Paul Fagan, and he's had over 30 years in the district, and he has requested that he be entitled to lifetime health benefits. That being said, his wife is also a member and of a retired member of Council 94, and she gets a buyback. So it's a little bit more complicated than saying that this is going to cost the district $320,000 or something like that.
$449,000, Mr. Chairman. $449.
No,
I will do the math for you if you like me anytime.
but
It's not mod math, it's simple math.
Let him finish.
Yep.
But the only difference is, if you saw my analysis, the only difference really is the $6,000 buyback
That's correct.
that this family would be entitled to, because
So $156,000.
Mr. Fagan's wife is entitled to a buyback or health care. And that would be the only difference in cost to the district, that $6,000 per year for however many years that takes. So I did want to clarify that, and I think everybody knows that that's what it would be. It's not inconsequential, but I think that the thought of the majority of the committee was a fairness issue.
So the motion is Mrs. Bean's. Do we, I think we've had any further discussion about Mrs. Bean?
So,
I thought we were going to do it as a group.
It was a group.
Well, wait a minute. We opened the discussion with Mrs. Bean. Now, that's where,
I just don't want to have to read
If you-
every one of these things.
well, I know you don't, but
It's in the group.
the motion was early in the minutes, we do it individually. Now, we've started down that road. I think we have to continue down that road. So Mrs. Beans is up for discussion.
I move approval of the contract for, it's not being,
Dr. Bean
Dr.
Townsend.
Townsend.
Yeah.
Well,
Whatever.
Mrs. Bean
Yeah.
here.
okay.
Second.
so, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if we're doing one at a time, Dr. Bose, will you comment which group she would be in?
She would be in the $2,000 group. She's given up lifetime health benefits, which she was entitled to in the past.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Number 2, Jennifer Booth.
Similarly to Dr. Bean, Dr. Booth also had previously had lifetime health benefits.
I move approval of the contract for Dr. Booth.
Second.
Any discussion? All in
So,
favor?
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
if I may, could you read the salary out, Mr. Chairman, for that person?
Sure.
And we'll come for both of them, obviously they're the same. That's why I waited.
$103,408.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Opposed.
Third one is Robert Campion.
This is just a straight 2% raise.
So move that the contract be approved.
Second.
Discussion? Yes, Mrs.
It's
Bowen.
a straight 2%, but it includes the gap insurance.
Right, yeah,
Okay,
right. I did talk about that before.
so I just wanted to
Okay,
make
yeah.
sure.
I did say everybody's getting that
Yeah.
now.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Jamie Crowley.
Nay.
Uh,
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
5-2.
Mr. Campion's getting $87,864.
I move the approval of Mr. Crowley's contract.
Again, straight 2%.
Is there a
raise.
second on that?
Second.
Okay. Discussion on Mr. Crowley. Do you want to give his numbers?
$105,104.
Which group?
2%.
2%.
And extended, right? Not extended.
Let's get the extended
Yeah.
benefits.
Everybody's
has.
everybody's getting up to 65.
But some had it already, and
65.
we're just giving it to
No,
them.
no one had.
Okay.
No one
Up
has,
to
Okay.
65?
Okay.
On the-
Okay.
On the contract.
no one has,
Okay.
correct.
What's the discussion down here? I'm sorry.
It's
Plus
just
65 kept it.
I see the-
okay.
Call for the
So
vote.
we got his salary and we've got his benefits. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Next one is Amy Donnelly Roach.
Phelan?
Nay,
Against?
thank you.
I move approval for contract for Donley Roach.
Second.
Any comments?
Mr. Chairman, is Dr. Ambrosi going to do
Her
that?
her salary is $105,333.
Which group?
She, 2%, not the extra.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Nay.
Next is Frances Eames.
I move the approval of Mrs. Eames' contract.
Second.
Mrs. Eames' salary is $72,177, and she gave up lifetime health benefits.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Next is Paul Egan.
Paul who?
Fagan, I'm sorry.
Fagan. I move approval of Mr. Fagan's contract.
Second.
Any discussion on Mr. Fagan?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would like at some point, it doesn't have to be Paul Fagan's, the ones that have vacation day, I want to discuss vacation days. Whenever you want to do that, it's fine by me.
I thought, we discussed that before, didn't we?
Not vacation days.
Yeah, we
We haven't discussed vacation days. I'd like to give the history on it at some point. It doesn't have to be this one, it can be any one you want. It's not a reflection on the person, it's
Let's
the ones
finish
that...
the contracts.
Well, let's finish the contract so you can come back to it
So you
afterwards.
have a talk on the full contract at the end, okay, I'm good with that. I'll get my comments on that.
So Mr. Fagan's contract has been made, a motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion about Mr.
Chairman?
Yes.
If I understand what Dr. Ambrosi just said, that Mr. Fagan or his wife now currently has a buyback, is that correct?
Mr. Fagan's wife is taking a buyback.
Right. So if he was to not get the extended benefit, then she would reactivate her extended benefit, is that correct?
That's correct.
So the difference would be that is going to be not the $400,000 Mr. Leary just talked about,
that's what I
but the
just-
difference is going to be what the difference is between her taking it or him taking
It's,
it.
yeah, it's six, as I said,
I think you need to explain that. If you want to sit there and talk that, let's explain that, because I'll go through my $449,000 very easily. That's correct. Thank you very much.
She doesn't?
People in authority shouldn't say things.
Our contract that
She doesn't get it.
gave up extended benefits for 15 people who were 15 years or above.
she had previously retired.
Yes, but she was part of that 12 people that we gave in the contract, who were 15 years and
She has
above.
benefits now.
Those 12, she's not one of those 12 people that received the extended benefits.
When did she retire? She retired not this past year, she retired before.
Yeah, June 30th, 2010.
That was before the contract was signed, was it not?
She was entitled to it.
It states, well,
My understanding she was, so I
it's
don't know.
listed here.
If that's not the case.
It can, right?
Yeah, and my understanding was she was entitled to it, and now's not the, I don't know,
Yeah.
it was there, so, and I checked with HR, so.
Okay, Mr. Fagan's, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah.
Nay.
Mr. Franco.
Mr. Franco, right,
What, you want the motion first, and then the...
Yes, let's have the
I move approval of Mr. Franco's contract.
Second.
How you doing? Fisher, that's fine.
Mr. Franco's salary is 98, thank you. After a while, I should have cleaned it over. $98,216.
Which group is he in? I know what group he's in, but the public. What's the public?
He's in the 2% group.
$2,000.
Any further discussion about Mr. Franco? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Phelan, Mr. Phelan.
Oh, no, sorry.
Christine Fisher is the next one.
I move acceptance of
Second.
Mrs. Fisher's contract.
Second.
Mrs. Fisher, salary is $85,680, and she she gets a 2% increase.
Any other comments, discussion on, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
The next is Ms. Gazer. Entertain a motion.
I move approval of Ms. Gage's contract.
Second.
Wendy makes $68,333, and she's worth every penny and more, right, Wendy?
Right. Can we give her a raise?
I would if I could, so...
I protect all of you.
Any further discussion on Ms. Gazer?
Which group is she in?
She is in the additional 4,000
I know.
because she had over 15 years in the district. She had 20 years in the district.
She's chosen not to take the extended
Correct.
benefit.
Correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Wendy, don't listen.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
The next is Eddie Merritt.
I move the approval of Mr. Merritt's contract.
Second.
Mr. Merritt makes $50,203, and he is receiving an additional $2,000 because he had previously been eligible for the lifetime health benefits.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
The next one is Jackie Nasbo. We have chosen at the executive session to table this one, so it's not up for vote. This brings us to the next to last, which is James Nelson.
No, not, yeah.
I move acceptance of Mr.
Second.
Nelson's,
Second.
I'm sorry, approval of Mr. Nelson's contract.
Second.
Mr. Nelson received a 2% raise. His salary is $112,363.
Okay, any discussion about Mr. Nelson's contract? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Dory Schlackman.
I move approval of Mrs. Schleckman's contract.
Second.
Doreen receives an additional $2,000. She had previously been eligible for lifetime health benefits, and her salary is $59,557.
Any discussion about this contract? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Before going on, I want to apologize for my comments. I think Mrs. Bowen was correct. I sort of got mixed up in my words. I'd written it out, and I couldn't find it prior to saying it, but our salary scales tend to reward those with higher responsibility and those with longer service. Likewise, the school's negotiating team felt that the benefit package should reward employees in a similar fashion. For this reason, the administration should at least receive a benefit package equivalent to other employees, and that was my intention. I apologize for any embarrassment I made. Okay, Bobby,
Jim.
we want to talk about the Leary contribution relative to vacation.
Yes, thank you very much. As Dr. Ambrosi often says, I'm the person far to the right and bring people to the center. And I've done that over the last 11 years on the school committee. When I first started out in the school committee, people got paid for vacation days. And they could accumulate up to 70 days, and they got paid for all 70 days when they left. I kept on preaching this, and I know it doesn't work in politics, but 4 votes eventually came around, and it went to 60, then to 50, then to 40, then to 25 days. So we finally got it down to 25 days. In the past, now the administrators can only accumulate 25 days vacation days, okay? And they only get paid for those days they don't take in that 1 year. In the past, people could accumulate them at one rate. If you had 70 days, you accumulate it as in year 4 or 5, and when you leave at year 20 or 35, you had a higher rate, and you were paid at that higher rate. So this is big, and we're almost there. I think our lawyers told us, because of the case with Mr. Senza, which is public knowledge, that he's telling you to go use it or lose it policy, because we spent over $8,000 on our attorney so far, and we're in court with her over her vacation days. And I say this because I think in history has helped me get the other 3 votes by doing this. And one of the reasons it's come around is because we had a business manager here that ran this place in the ground over $3 million. Over $3 million in 2 years, 1.9 one year and 1.2 the following year. And he walked out with $18,000 severance pay after 3 years of work. So I think they realized that you got to have 10 years in the system to get paid for it. And that's the
I want to point out that was not under my watch, Mr. Leary.
That's correct, I'll get there. I would say, when Dr. Ambrosi came on, he relieved this man of his duties. But my point was not of the man, the thing. The point was, after 3 years of work, he was paid $18,000. And we sit here and hum and haw about band uniforms and band jackets and jackets, books for people, but we did give people $18,000 for 3 years of work who ran this over $3 million in the hole. So this is huge to me. We've got to the point now, it's 25 days. I still think it should be use it or lose it, but we're basically there. So I'm very pleased. That's my comment on vacation days. I would like to, at some point, Mr. Chairman, if I want to, at least make generic comments on all the contracts too afterwards when you're ready at a point.
Yeah, I'd just like to comment generically too, that this particular group of people are not unionized. Irrespective of your opinion about union, it does make it rather difficult because we had to take each of these individuals in executive session and in previous meetings review what their benefits and their salaries. And likewise tonight, it took us, rather than approve them as one group, but we've had to approve them individually. So I thank you for your patience on this. Mr. Leary, you want to comment again?
Yeah, all right, thank you. I'll do my comments to be done. Thank you very much. So let me clear up my $449,000 first. So those that do basic math will get this. So from age 59 to 65, Mr. Fagan is eligible to leave, since he already mentioned his name, is eligible to leave at 59. So from 59 to 65 is 6 years. So his $20,000 policy times 6 years is $120,000. His wife will get a $6,000 buyback times 6 years is $36,000. So now we're up to age 65. So from age 65 to 85, which is the mortality tables used by the city when they do the unfunded liability, Paul's health insurance would be $173,000. His wife's buyback, $6,000 times 20 years, is $120,000. Comes to $293,000. Add the 156, 293, you come up with 449. That's how I get my numbers. That's how I verify them. The 65 to 85 is an interesting thing, but that's the mortality table that they use in the city for the age. So that's my comment on that. My comment generic about the whole thing is that this city right now has an unfunded liability. Backtrack. The city had an unfunded liability for OPEB, just for the school side, of $70 million. Just on the school side, $70 million. In 2 years, because they said we haven't done much with Council 94, we have. 70% of the people in Council 94 lost their Life Blue Cross. Only 12 have it in Council 94. And we lost all administrators last year. And with the retirement age changing for some people, it's dropped to $62 million right now. $8 million that unfunded liabilities dropped for the changes that we made. You should be very proud of yourselves in this committee in 2 years. $8 million that unfunded liability dropped. And I say that because there's going to come a time when the city's not going to be able to afford it. And that time's getting very, very close. And I say that now because right now, the city payment, which is required to pay by law, is a $10 million payment of the unfunded liability. They expect it to get a 7% money in the market from that. And guess what they got this year? 1%. So they have to put in $1.5 million next year in that unfunded liability. They have to put that in. That 1.5 million is over, well, let me backtrack a little bit again. Every $600,000 is 1% raise in the tax thing. Every $600,000. So that 1.5 million is over a 2% raise next year in your taxes. And when you add in the 1.3 million for the Pell School, you're over your $2.4 million cap at 4%. So the city's gonna have to make some hard choices, very hard choices. And don't be prepared that you're gonna see pay-as-you-go for garbage and all this stuff, and then it's gonna come home to roost. It's gonna come home to roost, where they're gonna say, you're paying all this money out for retirees, you can't afford it anymore. And as happened in Central Falls, as happened in West Warwick, as happened in East Providence, as Providence had to do, the mayor had to negotiate these things out where he was gonna go under, Woonsocket's right in line right now, they're going down in April. These people are all gonna have to hire receiverships if they can't get concessions. So this money is real, it's a number you have to deal with, and I think by giving back that $449,000 to one person is gonna make the city so mad that in the future, they could probably say to you, we'll take that out of your operating budget, because they're trying so hard to get rid of that Life Blue Cross, and I'm sure they have it, some people. So I think the message we send here now is crystal clear to Council 94 and crystal clear to TAN, that we gave it back to them, well, you might as well start negotiating with us, and we'll give it back to you. So we set the precedence here, and good luck with negotiating to the rest of this committee.
Any other comments?
Yes.
Yes, Ms. Flowers, or Dr. Flowers?
Thank you. I've been listening a lot tonight. I haven't said too much, but I think I've said this perhaps in executive sessions, not giving away any secrets, that it's fine to vote against contracts on principle. I think, and that's certainly you're right. But I'm not expecting an answer to this question, but what is the alternative if we're looking for fair treatment for all of our retirees? I'm one of them here. You know, we have a lot of retirees sitting at this table from various communities and various positions. And we look at the retirees regardless of our positions. Some people are in the management level, they are administrators, some of them are classroom teachers, some of them are the very necessary people in Council 94. I agree that everyone should be recognized for the dignity that they deserve. And also, many people who are receiving pensions, receiving benefits, and of course they're paying into a lot of it, they are taxpayers, maybe not all in the city of Newport, but a good number of us are. And they live on Aquidneck Island also. So I just think that we have to, this is probably one of the toughest calls, toughest duties that school committee members have. You're dealing with the individuals who have put many, many years into the system. It makes some of the other responsibilities far more palatable. So I'm respectfully asking my colleagues who are historically voting against the contracts, what would be your alternative besides giving people practically nothing? I'm not expecting an answer tonight.
Well, come to this microphone just so that.
My name is Mary Souza. I'm a paraeducator as well as president of Council 94. Listening to all of this is a little bit disturbing. I accept your apology for your miswords.
Thank you.
As being a paraeducator, the lowest, as some people would say, on the totem pole, what you just said about what would we do about your personal feelings or whatever, about not voting on a contract. Last year, you took away the benefits from the administrators. This past, last year's contract for the Council 94, we took the highest 15 years for our members so that they could keep their extended benefits, and the rest of us who had the extended benefits lost their benefits. So with taking away the administrative benefits from last year's contract, you gave it back to them. So now we're going to look at you and say, can we have ours back?
Yeah.
What kind of precedent does that show to us? That's a big slap in my face as far as I'm concerned. And right after this, if any of our members see this on the public access show, or I'm sure they're going to hear it on, or read it in the newspaper, or see it on Patch. Are you Patch?
Newport this week.
I'm sorry.
One of those.
I'm sure they're not going to be too happy to hear that. Now that administrators got their benefits, some of them got their benefits back, some of them got a lump sum, one who, got their back. Some that are, the rest of them are keeping them up until age 65. Is that what it is? Social Security age?
We added it.
You
for some
added
11 people,
to 65?
till 65.
We only have 12 people with extended lifetime benefits. The rest are keeping them, however it works, but you took it away from them, and now you're giving it back. The ones that that was negotiated in our contract that was taken away, I hope that when we negotiate next time, you're going to offer that back to us. And I'm sure you're not going to. And that's going to be really, really a big slap in our face. And that's just, disturbing. And I don't think it's fair. That's all I have to say.
Mrs. Gaines?
Just so you understand, administrative contracts are 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
They did not have any say in losing that lifetime benefit. We took it.
I understand
It
that.
was not negotiated. And we took it because with the statement that we were negotiating with two other contracts, and that they were the example.
Exactly.
Okay? Had we been able to get rid of lifetime benefits from both yours and Tan's, then there wouldn't have been any question, but that reduction on their side would have stayed. Because they had no say in it, and we did not achieve that elimination of all benefits, I felt it was only fair that they have something. So we have these categories of stay with it or take a lump sum. Eventually, this is going away. And the people who took the $4,000, the $2,000 were smart enough to know that this 1 year contract, they're going to be facing that same thing again in a year. You have a multi-year contract. So before you come back for negotiations, this will probably be gone. It'll be gone. But when you're working with a 1 year contract with people who have no say in it, literally, you have to try to be fair and look at what has happened in the other contracts. And that's what we try to do. Fairness is the first thing that I want for all of our employees.
And I understand that. And knowing that administrators did not receive their benefits from last year as an example, and we knew that was coming down the line, and negotiating with us as Council 94 first, not TAN, and that was unusual. We knew that was coming to us first. And that's why we negotiated the way we negotiated and lost the amount of people that we lost, and only maintained the 12 people.
70% lost.
The 70, yeah.
Okay,
That-
I mean, it's,
It just seems kind of unfair that
I'm gonna take-
it came back to you.
Excuse me, I'm going to take two more comments, and then I think we should adjourn. Mr. Leary?
Let me say, I'll give her kudos. Also, we did, and thank you for saying that, we did take it away from 70% of Council 94. Only 12 people remain, and we took it away. None of them were given $4,000, and none of them were given $2,000. It was taken away without any money increasing their base pay going forward forever.
Just one comment on these three people who got the lifetime and the $4,000. They've been here for over 15 years, so I think that in the discussion at the school committee level, there was a fairness about treating people differently who have been here over a long period of time. And Paul's been here for 30 years. Had Paul been in the union still, there would have been no question that Paul would have gotten the lifetime health benefits. Had Wendy been in the union, there would have been no question that Wendy would have gotten the lifetime health benefits. Had Fran been in the union, there would have been no question that Fran would have gotten the lifetime health benefits. So that was the fairness that was discussed by the school committee regarding people who had had more than 15 years. And that's how we based it, and that's how the school committee made their decisions in terms of Paul and Fran and Wendy. You see what I'm saying?
I understand that.
Okay.
Which was what Mrs. Gaines
You need-
just said.
Right. Yeah, I just want to make sure that you understood that was why those decisions were made.
I had a conversation today with the mayor. He's concerned about the fact that we restored benefit, but there are several other unions in this city, and I suggested at the liaison committee, we all, the school and the municipal side, lay out who has what benefit and what its contribution is to the OPEB or other post-employment benefits. And let's not start pointing fingers at one another until we have the data, until we understand who has what and I think they're trying very hard to negotiate this out, but I can tell you from a negotiator's point of view, you don't have much. You can talk about interest-based bargaining where you give a little bit and they give a little bit. We don't have anything to give back. And so it's very difficult, and yet at the same time, as Mr. Leary said, it's going to bankrupt the city unless we do something to change it. To entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you.